G'day and welcome to the next episode of Tech Adept Crafts. Today we're looking at D&D figures. Now I've got a number of them here, but we'll zoom in on a picture of this in a moment. This character was designed on Heroforge. I'll put a link in the description after the video, but Heroforge, wonderful tool for designing your own figures. This one is a Tiefling Bard. Now, I had never played Tieflings before because we had been playing the original Red Box D&D and have only recently swapped over to 5th edition D&D. And the Tiefling Bard was something that intrigued me ever since watching Emily Axford on Fantasy High, a campaign from Dimension 20, which you can find on YouTube. I'll put a link to the first episode of that one. That was a fantastic campaign. Now I had found these guys originally from NADPOD. So on Fantasy High, Emily played a Tiefling Bard. So this gave me the idea to do our own one for my son's campaign that I'm running for him and his friends. So we've got somebody playing a Tiefling Bard. It was an interesting character and I've never painted a Tiefling before, so that was going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, so I want to give a shout out to NADPOD. I'm wearing my Watch This shirt, a catchphrase from Hardwon Shawfoot, one of the characters on the NADPOD Campaign 1. The guys over there are about to start Campaign 2, so if you like listening to podcasts, thoroughly recommend those guys. They do a fantastic job there. Shout out to Colonel Korne and Amy Eslick, which I believe is actually Joel using his partner's account. They both commented on the Blood Angels that were in the previous episode, the Tin Can Silos. So thank you to those guys who mentioned the Blood Angels. So today's episode is painting up the D&D character Tiefling Bard. Sit back and enjoy, and hope that you enjoy the show. And if you do, make sure that you hit like, hit subscribe, and leave a comment down below. We're getting close to that 200 subscriber mark, so comment on what you would like to see me paint in that session. The obvious one is going back to the Red Dragon, but sky's the limit, really. Anyway, see you after the show.
With so many miniatures that I've been painting lately, I am really running out of spray, so this is a mix of black and white spray. First layout, this is a Korne red from Citadel, and I'm painting this all over the clothing. Not the armor, this is just the clothing, but I am in the end using it as an undercoat for all of the armor as well. Then I do the skin, which I use a mix of Abaddon black, Warpfield grey and Macragge blue. This is just mixed to suit. There's no particular formula for this colour. Following that we have game colour, heavy sienna, which I use to paint all of the armour. She is wearing leather armour, so any of that plating that is over the clothes is going this brown. First of the highlight layers, we are going over the skin. I'm mixing the same colour up, but now adding a little bit of white to it as I go to make lighter tones on the face, on the knuckles, on the fingers, anywhere where you would naturally find a slightly lighter colour on that flesh. While I've got that Army Painter matte white out, I'm painting the hair. Starting to highlight the clothing now. This is with that Korne red and a little bit of white. I'm using Citadel Ushabti bone on all of the trim of that armor. It's a very stark contrast color, which I think looks fantastic. I'll also use it in a moment on the top trim of the boots. To make sure I recognise the slightly demonic nature of the Tiefling, I have given them yellow eyes using Citadel base Averland Sunset. Then mixing just black and white paint from Citadel, I have a dark grey here, which I'm doing for the boots, and also in between the trim lines on the boots. I then make the mistake of painting the base. I realise afterwards that this was the wrong grey, and so here I go again. I have my ready-made mix of grey that you have possibly seen me tout out in a used drink bottle. Not to waste the opportunity, but I'm now using that grey to highlight the boots. This next part is really messy. Using Yriel yellow, I'm trying to add a highlight layer into the eyes. Now I just kept getting this all over the place, so you'll see me go back and forth, back and forth. I eventually get the Yriel yellow in the spot I need, and a slight slit eye for using black for the pupil. I'm now using Game Colour Beasty Brown and adding that to the heavy sienna to create a highlight layer for the leather armour. I then go on to use that Beasty Brown for all of the leather straps, as well as a second highlight layer for the leather armour. Now using just a straight black to do the belt at the top of her pants. For the horns I'm using Game Extra Opaque Heavy Violet and blending that through to a white by dry brushing in consecutively lighter layers. For a highlight brick on the base, I'm using Beasty Brown and this aquamarine colour, which is a mistake. I think I've used Cyberite Green, which is a Citadel layer in the past, but it still gives the same sort of effect. I'm then using that aquamarine as a base colour on the sword. Game Colour Gunmetal is now being applied to the majority of all other metal components on the model, such as the secondary blade and all of the belt buckles and clips. I'm now adding Game Colour Electric Blue to the blade, just to work on the highlighting. After that, I'm starting to blend with the Yriel Yellow to give a greenish glow, then through to a yellow glow on the edges of that blade. I want to make it look like a very outworld magical blade. The first round of shading is with Agrax's Earth Shade. This is going over all of the red and leather components and the bone components, also over the base. Next, using a watered down Drakenhof Nightshade, we wash the blade and the hair. There's a little bit of an inscription on that blade, so I wanted to get some darker colour into there. So I did go over the blade twice. In the end, I wasn't happy with this next layer. It was the corn red mixed with white, highlighting all of the clothing. brush the hair white. Add a second layer of shading to the rigid leather armour using Nuln oil. This really darkens up that leather armour, making it stand out a bit from the red clothing. Then also go over with this Nuln oil over all of the other metallic components, such as the secondary blade and all of the belt buckles. Game colour leather brown to paint the flute, the backpack, and the hilts of both blades. Dry brush back over all of the trim on the armour with a mix of bone and white. Then adding bone to the leather brown, dry brush over the flute and the backpack. Lighten that brown again and go over the bedroll that is at the top, just to offset the colour between the two. Using a larger grey than what I used on the base, I'm now dry brushing over the whole base. That includes the brown and that aquamarine colour. Go over the silver components again, dry brushing that blade. This is when the pinkish highlight got to me and I started to change it to more of a red highlight. It stands out far more against that dark leather. Going back to the Beasty brown to highlight the leather armour. I'm using Balthazar Gold, a Citadel base colour, for the trim on the blades. I wanted to use this darker gold rather than a shining gold, as most of the model is rather dark. I didn't want to then change that with the gold standing out too much. Once that's dry, wash over again with the Agrax Earthshade over the flute, the backpack, the hilt, and all the gold filigree that you've added. Once it's dry, I'm adding heavy sienna to the straps on the backpack. The last little feature, a little potion bottle underneath the right hand. I'm using that electric blue, then blending up with white, and then giving it a wash with that Drakenhof. That's the model done. Then give it a spray with Army Painter Anti-Shine Varnish Spray.
There you have it. Hope that you enjoyed that tutorial on how to paint a Tiefling Bard. And don't forget, head over onto Heroforge and design your own D&D character. It's a great way to pick out all of those little details that you particularly want on your figure. Till the next episode, keep hobbying.